is one of the striking things that we have noticed in this Tamil Nadu scheme of children with heart disease is that when you open the school camps, you continue to see only 3 or 4 diagnoses. Rest are all dead. I mean, tetralogy fellow is all over the place. We see some pulmonary atresia, some isomyography, that's it. So majority of the other ones are not alive at the school-going age. So there is a loss of life which is preventable if the government has schemes to offer money for treatment. The next logical step would be to include all those who will otherwise not survive long enough to be diagnosed for school age. So we need to have early diagnosis, and especially this needs to be in today's day and age, prenatal. We also need better training systems because if you look at the example from our neighboring state and not what we're seeing now, if every single child which is born in our state were to actually demand and get the treatment that we think they should get, we don't have enough hospitals and we don't have enough doctors, surgeons, cardiologists to render that care. That's not enough. What we have is a very tiny fraction compared to the actual need. And that would be a good thing to do because that will, I think, in the end, make us better, and our training systems will become more meaningful rather than exam-oriented. We also need, in my opinion, local innovations. Professor Vasudevan spoke about he's doing a pot shine. I'm a very great admirer of what he did because I remember the very first time I spoke to Professor Vasudevan was maybe 1989. When I first saw a child with a functioning pot shine coming to me for correction, I rang up and asked him how the hell you repair this, because in all the training that we had overseas, and Suresh will agree with me, the spectrum that we see in this country we never see anywhere else. So we just jump into the ocean and learn to swim. And over these 20 years, now we have done close to 34 pot shines, and I really congratulate him because we've just written up a manuscript. The oldest is a 48-year-old man, pulmonary atresia, who was repaired on what a shine when he was 1 year old. And there's no way on earth he's ever going to have survived for 48 years, born as he was 1960 or whatever, without that operation. So it's one thing to look at Western data and Western concepts from their life. In my opinion, you need local innovations if you're going to make a difference, which takes into context the local reality of where people live. And I have had some personal experiences because I've gone and done some surgery in Kabul in Afghanistan, amongst other places, the most unlikely places you'd actually ever go to. And the hotel I stayed in, Serena Hotel, got bombed the day after I left, after I finished 6 operations, so it's a little frightening. But nevertheless, 2 things are striking. One is well, the totality of transposition is the same, regardless of where in the world you're operating. The disease entity does not change. And what is also most striking is, for all our faults, we have a lot more things to offer the rest of the developing world than Americans or the French or the Europeans can have, because they bring with them their own teams who have no clue as to how to treat 70-year-old transposition with VSD. I mean, so I think, whereas that's something we are very clever at. So I think a website such as this would go a long way, not only to cater to the Indian public, but I think we fail to realize that 90% of humanity is like us, poor and disorganized. So that's a huge thing that we could really teach them. The third thing is local innovations. In my opinion now, it's time for Indian companies to look at whether it's worthwhile getting into manufacturing, because one thing that I found was when the amounts being given are small, your profit margins are actually tiny. I mean, if in a typical tetralogy, you perhaps have a profit margin of 15,000 in a typical private hospital. So at the end of 15 cases, if you have an infection or something else, all the profit gets wiped out. So you really have to look at avoiding complications altogether. And that means, first of all, you need expert data collection and data analysis to know where you can avoid mistakes of any kind. Number 2, I think reuse and other things that Indians have traditionally done to be the cost. Perhaps not the way we go. Perhaps this is the time for local companies to make less expensive cannulae and such stuff, and there might be a better market for them. Third thing is, it's less a scientific mode of an ethical and philosophical question of high risk. If you're dealing with high risk, quote unquote, in a very poor family, where the outcomes may not be as predictable as you would wish, is it right to subject them to the cost which they are likely to incur, the end of which they don't necessarily have a life or a well-found child? In some situations, in my opinion, it's perhaps you have to look at local realities in treating. And finally, devices. I think this is perhaps the time when India also needs to get into device manufacturing in a big way. I was interested when he said that when Dr. Raghavan said that he's from MIT, because I do a fair amount of my research with Jafar Ali in MIT. We got two very major funded projects looking at single-cell contractiles and hypertrophy models. But we're also developing an artificial heart with Bob Atomic Research Center in Bombay. Hopefully it should be out in a couple of years. But as I said, the recent changes in health economics in our states augurs well, in my opinion, for a whole reason. You can't suddenly get excellent results for, say, hyperplast for a precious baby if you never treated anybody else. So it's important for everything that all the citizens of the state or country have access to the same health care as anyone else does. This is not only just rhetoric or a feel-good statement. It makes sound economic policy as well, in my opinion. We need to have some kind of public health policy and who's going to pay for these screening tests. In fact, we have started a small initiative with one of the districts in Tamil Nadu where we're screening all the pregnant mothers in that district with the idea of detecting not necessarily cardiac defects alone, but other defects, including prematurity and fatal neurological defects, so that we could realistically have a look at whether that impacts infant mortality. Next slide. This is for the doctors in the audience. Those of you who are interested, two fascinating new papers have come on insights into cardiac development. And in my opinion, in the next 5 years, you're going to have some very exciting news on how to alter, even if you detect them early enough, the fate of development of congenital defects. And this could perhaps be a treatment modality in the future. Next slide. Next. Now, if you look at health demographic data, the highest incidence of death is in the perinatal period, in the first 30 days of life, and then infant mortality, and then under 5. If a child survives for the first 5 years of life, it's the next peak of death is when you're over 40 from accidents and heart attacks. And the stated objective of virtually every health mission in this country has been to lower the infant mortality rate. And yet, it's stubbornly refused to budge. Even in this city, I think it stands around 45 or so. It's budged very little below that level. And to a large extent, that's the neonatal mortality which is impossible to bring down. Because neonatal mortality is not going to be affected by vaccinations and infection control and so on and so forth. But to a large extent, you need to attack congenital defects, over which heart is a commonest. So prenatal screening has some inherent merit from that point of view. Next slide. Now, if you look at this scooter, and hopefully with the advent of nano, not whether hopefully the correct word to use, these might become relics of past. We may or may not necessarily see two-wheelers as many numbers as we see now. This piece of near worthless stuff is insured because it's compulsory in this country to have insurance before you can take your vehicle onto the streets. Next slide. Surprisingly, it's not true for this baby. So I don't know. I think one of the things we must insist on is compulsory insurance, which is one way development is sorted out. Otherwise, this debate of affordable, not affordable is going to continue. I mean, there's only so much as doctors we can do to reduce costs. We need to have a system where we don't have to worry about the cost and focus on giving good health care. Thank you very much.
In the interest of time, actually, I request the chief guest, Dr. Manal Jawahar, to address us. and followed with the award of the year 2009. So before getting into the name, I request with Dr. Manoj Jawahar, please. Good evening to all. I will not take more than 5 minutes because already time is 9:25, so I will not take more than 5 minutes. The most respected and beloved Mr. Raghavan, dignitaries on the dais, senior doctors, invitees, guests, and my dear friends. First of all, let me express my sincere thanks to Mr. Raghavan for the opportunity given to me to speak before you. It is a proud privilege for me to be here in presence of all experienced and the top level senior doctors. In this stage, there are two engineers. One is myself, another one is Mr. Raghavan. He is 8 years junior to me. We both studied at Madras Institute of Technology. When he approached me to invite for this particular program, I asked him, all doctors, topmost level doctors are coming. What I going to talk in presence of them? I don't have any knowledge about medical field. Then he said, I am an engineer here, so you please come. Then I requested my colleague Dr. Kumaraveru, who is heading the Department of Electronics and Communication. He is well versed with medical electronics, biomedical engineering. He also agreed to come. He has come. And in the medical field, I have to learn a lot from so many teachers, particularly during the last 3-4 months in Kalinga TV, Dr. Chokkalingam. He was here, now he is not here. So he used to teach very well about the medical field. Dr. Chokkalingam is another VC because V. Chokkalingam we can say VC. He is the permanent VC and I am appointed by government for 3 years only. See here, Dr. Balakrishnan explained everything about the pediatric cardiology diseases, etc. everything. Really we were able to get everything from this presentation. You know very well, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is the progress, and working together is success. Particularly for doctors, it is very, very important. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Mr. Raghavan Sudha, using the Sudha Foundation, he launched a website. He launched a website last year. This is first anniversary of the website. And also today, another, that is the pediatric cardiology segment was launched there. These two are extremely important, particularly for doctors, not only doctors but also for patients. For doctors, they can share their experience, they can share their views, so it is very, very important. If they share their experience and if they share their views, then automatically it will be helpful for the patients as well as doctors. So in that way, this website will be highly useful for all doctors and all patients and all, in general it will be helpful for all. So let me congratulate Mr. Raghavan for the wonderful arrangement made here to launch this website today. I want to quote the following. Happiness keeps you sweet, trials keep you strong, sorrow keeps you human, failure keeps you humble, and success keeps you glowing. But only faith and attitude keeps you going. So that is very important. That is, faith and attitude keeps you going. The persons have high faith on doctors. See, there are three things. Love is important, faith is important, hope is important. Love, faith, hope. Out of these three, love is very, very important because it is common for all. So particularly, everybody is, the persons are having more faith on doctors, and the doctor's attitude should be extremely humane. So faith and attitude keeps you going. So all senior, high experienced doctors are highly humane with all the patients, and I have this opportunity to meet you all here, and really it is happiness for me, and this happiness has been given to me by Mr. Raghavan. Once again, let me express my thanks to Mr. Raghavan for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Dear friends, when I was hearing the talk with Dr. Raghavan's talk, he was expressing his inner feelings. I really appreciate, and you want to continue the vision of your wife. He was talking to his sons, please get up. And so they are so nice how they have been growing up, the genetic of Raghavan and Mrs. Raghavan. And what I want to tell, I asked them, are you going to become doctors? Intelligently they said they are not going to become. My teachers used to tell me, if you are intelligent, be engineers or ITs, whatever thing. If you are not, become doctors. After becoming a doctor, ask me, if you are intelligent, become neurologist, endocrinologist. If you are not intelligent, become cardiologist. After becoming cardiologist, ask me, if you are intelligent, you become a pediatric cardiologist, pediatric cardiac surgeon. If you are not, continue as adult cardiologist. Why I am saying, heart of ours is the size of the fist. We can very easily tackle, at the age of 70 if they come, I can make them alive for another 10 or 20 years. But those are pediatricians and pediatric cardiologists and cardiac surgeons. That heart of neuron nets is only fingertip. Once they decide their life, they are going to decide the lifelong of their span. So the greatest regard for the pediatricians and pediatricians. I really admire Raghavan. Just I have been watching how he has been doing this. Only one thing I want to communicate to the children that are going to grow up so nicely. விதை விதைத்தவன் உறங்கினாலும் விதைகள் உறங்குவதில்லை. எண்ணங்கள் விதைத்தவன் உறங்கினாலும் அவர்கள் எண்ணங்கள் எப்பொழுதும் உறங்காது. ராகவனுடைய வைஃபுடைய எண்ணங்கள் continue to live, continue to guide us. There is no question of separation and the absence of that one feeling will not feel it. The four laws are law of acceptance, law of change, law of alignment, take the law of responsibility. I admire everyone and thanks for the time.